Good evening and live from Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Black Belt Zen with another video coming to you on Wednesday, June the 30th, 2021, as we are live with new videos every week. Start out today by saying happy birthday to Mike Tyson. The former heavyweight champion is 55, I believe, today. Pretty sure he is. 55 years old today for Mike Tyson, who used to live here in Las Vegas. I don't know if he still does or whatever, but I know he lived in the area here for a long time. Playing, it's been a few years, but it's been playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out. If you're a '90s kid, you might remember that game. About 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, when the Nintendo Mini came out and got really popular. I spent a lot of time in the summer of 2017, I guess it was, playing old Mike Tyson Punch Out. I had so much trouble against Soda Pop. That guy beat me time and time and time again. Eventually, I got him. I probably lost to him 25 times or something, 20 at least. And then I finally got him. He knocked me down twice. It wasn't looking good, but I came back. I was able to get him, and then I lost the very next fight. And then when you lose, you go back to fighting Soda, and then I lost to Soda a bunch of times. I beat him one other time, and then I lost the next fight. I finally said, all right. I never got to fight Tyson. Maybe someday. I still got it. Maybe someday. It's a fun game. All right, so we're going to get into it a little bit today. The Stanley Cup Finals have started. Montreal defeated Vegas on Thursday, a video I talked about last week, right after the game. You might want to go watch that if you haven't. Montreal did lose the first game on Monday. I forget what the final score was, but it wasn't very close. I think it was 4-1 or 5-2, something like that. Game 2 just started a few minutes ago and is currently scoreless. But Vegas isn't in it, and I'm kind of disappointed, so I don't know how closely I'm going to follow the finals this year. How's that look? Everybody hear me okay? Sometimes I think this microphone isn't very loud. Okay, so a couple of things. I want to talk today about the importance of reading. This isn't really a book review, but I guess it might turn into one. Who knows? We go live, so anything can happen. I just kind of wing it. You probably figured that out by watching my videos. It's called Positive Thinking is for Sissies. Book by Sensei Ron Thomas. He's a jiu-jitsu sensei in California. He's an actor, Ron Thomas. If you've seen The Karate Kid, you'll remember him as playing Bobby Brown, the fighter who takes out Daniel's knee in the tournament. And he's been in Cobra Kai. And I found this book, it was 2 years ago, either today or tomorrow, when I started reading it. I think it was July 1st. But 2 years ago this week, I started reading it. Great book. Love the title. Easy to read. Obviously, short and simple. And what this book really does extremely well is take concepts of self-help and Eastern philosophy and mastering your emotions and mastering yourself and self-control or self-command, as he likes to call it, and breaks it down into simplest forms. A lot of self-help books really aren't that interesting. This is interesting. The way he writes it is interesting, and especially if you're a fan of the Karate Kid movies or you're a martial arts student, it's just an added bonus that he's a main character, an original Cobra Kai in the movies, and he's a jiu-jitsu sensei and competitor. So I recommend that book. I'll even go further and say this book has become my Bible since I read it 2 years ago. I look through it all the time. I've got spots that are highlighted. I don't know if it's in this copy because I've actually got a couple of copies of the book. Yeah, this one's not. But I've got 2 copies of the paperback book. You might have some trouble finding the paperback book. I recommend getting that so you can mark it up. It's a little bit easier. But if you can't find it, I know you can get it on a tablet. The ebook is available. Go to senseiron.com. I'll link that in the description. I should have done that before the video started, but I didn't think to. So I'll link once I get done with the live stream. I'll link the website senseiron.com and the place where you get the book. And if you go to Amazon, you go to Barnes and Noble, you can get it there. if you've got a Kindle or a Nook or one of those types of devices. I'm not aware of an audio version of the book, but I'll look, and if I find one, I'll link it in the description too. But the book for me has really been life changing, and it's easy. It's easy to understand. It's engaging, and it really just, if you're someone who kind of needs a kick in the butt, that book can really do it. And it leads me to kind of a bigger picture here, which is, what are you reading? Are you reading, first of all? I mean, how many books do you read? How many books have you read here in the month of June? It's now the last day of the month. How many books have you read in 2021? We're halfway through the year. How many books did you read in 2020 during COVID? If you were locked in the house and you had no job and you had a lot of time to read, did you utilize that? And it's fine if you didn't, but just think of all the opportunities that are out there to read. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, I don't have time to read." Well, that may be true, but maybe you're just not making it a priority. And what are you reading? Are you reading stuff that's useful? Or are you reading, some tabloid gossip website or magazine, or Inside Edition, or I don't know if they've got a website with different stuff. I just know it's probably the most well-known kind of tabloid, kind of nonsense name. It's a TV show, of course, but I forget the one where they had years ago, Esquire, or I don't even remember. I don't read these things. I don't really know what they are, but I know that they're tabloid, and I know that's probably not going to get you to improve your life very much. If you want to read that kind of fluff, you're probably not getting educated. You want to get educated, read books. You know, I recommend, if you're not a reader right now and you want to become one, because it'll grow your knowledge. You'll learn from other people's experiences. You'll learn new perspectives on things, ways of thinking that will help your life if you decide to be open minded enough to absorb those and use them in your own way. I recommend starting with one nonfiction book a month. Tomorrow's the first day of July. It's a great time to get started. We're halfway through 2021. If you're not reading, you've got a book on your shelf that's been sitting there for years, just collecting dust, that you've wanted to get to, but you don't have time. Make the time. Make a commitment and say, in July, I'm going to read that one book that's been sitting on my bookshelf for 3 years, and I've been meaning to get to it, or 5 years, or 10 years, or however long it's been. Doesn't make any difference. Been meaning to get to it. Now I'm finally going to get to it. And once you get in the habit of becoming a reader, maybe you read 2 books a month. Maybe you read a book a week, something like that. Of course, there's a lot of variables. If you read a book like Positive Thinking is for Sissies, it's short. I mean, I don't even know what the page number is here. 151, 154 pages. So that's a quick read. You can read that in one sitting, or definitely in a couple of sittings. I like to take my time with those types of books and absorb them. So even though it's only 154 pages, I might spend a week reading it, just because I like to really absorb that type of material. If you're reading a Stephen King novel, which maybe is 800 pages or 900 pages or something, or 1,200, I think it is like 1,100, 1,200 pages, something like that. I read that years ago, and it's too much. But that's obviously going to require more reading than a book that's 154 pages. So there's a lot of variables in here. We understand that. The point is, make a commitment to reading. Make it a habit. And to develop that habit, it might take 3 months. It might take a while if you're not a reader. But I encourage you to read, because the amount of education that you can get from a book is incredible. I want to say I got this for like $8, something like that. It's changed my whole life. $8. I mean, for the amount of money that you spend on a book, the return on investment is fantastic. If you're reading, stuff that's worth reading, in an investment type of way. If you're reading just for entertainment, that's fine too. My parents always told me as a kid, just read something. Whether it's a novel, whether it's a book about sports, or a book about history, or a book about music, didn't make any difference. Just get in the habit of reading something if you're not a reader. And I really wasn't a reader until I think the first book I ever read that wasn't school related was Private Parts by Howard Stern. I think I was 20 when I read that. And I really didn't become a reader until about 10 years ago. So I'm 40 now, about 31. I started becoming a reader. And it's really been one of the best choices I've made is to make a commitment to it because it's entertaining, it's useful, it's something that it doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's something that you can do pretty much anywhere. I mean, whether you're sitting at home, if you're on an airplane, if you're waiting around somewhere, and if you've got, you got it on your phone or you got it on your tablet, it can be really easy to be portable in those types of ways. I still prefer to read on the paperback, but I've got ebooks, I've got audiobooks. Those are all ways to take advantage of different formats of reading in places where maybe you can't really use a paperback book as well. If you're on an airplane that's bumpy and you get motion sickness, reading straight out of a book's probably not that great of an idea for you. Put on your headphones and listen to an audiobook. Those create your own kind of little quiet space. It will make so many improvements in your life. You'll be reading something out of a book, and if you read enough and you do it long enough, this will happen to you. You're going to read something out of a book, and then shortly after, maybe the same day or the next day or a couple days later, you'll be in a conversation and somebody will bring up a subject that you were just reading about, and you'll be informed. They might ask you a question about something and you'll know the answer. Why? Because you were reading a book on that 2 days ago. So that's why I recommend always being read. I've constantly got a book open. I'd probably 80% of the books I read are nonfiction. I'm reading one right now by Shannon Lee called Be Like Water, My Friend, which we'll do a review on it at some point. It's just always be reading. That's what I would recommend. And that's what I do because I recommend stuff that I do. If I don't believe in it, if it's not something that I think is a good idea, I'm not going to recommend you do it. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you what I do and what's worked for me. I think reading has worked for pretty much everybody I've talked to. I've yet to find anybody who, decided to become a reader and said, "Oh, that was a bad decision. I wish I'd never done that." I've never encountered that. All right, so that's it for today. Hope you got some benefit out of this. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We do new live videos every week. I will see you next Wednesday. And I hope you have a good 4th of July. Safe 4th of July. Follow me on Twitter at BlackBeltZen. I'll have another poll as we do every Sunday, Twitter polls just for fun of a 4th of July one this week. 4th of July is Sunday, so we might do 2 of them. I try to do 2 of them if it's a holiday or a holiday weekend. Hit me up on there anytime you want. I'm usually checking in at least a couple times a day. And put something in the comments. You guys never say anything. Come on, give me some feedback. Even if you hate this, just write something. All right, everybody. Thanks. I will talk to you next week.